Toastmasters of Fairfield, Iowa. It's another Tuesday at 7:45 at the lower level of the First United Methodist Church on the corner of B and Briggs Street. Please join me in warmly welcoming our past president, Will Burns.
Thank you, Cindy, and welcome Toastmasters, guests throughout the room, and viewers at home for a meeting of Golden Speakers Toastmasters, where we meet every Tuesday to go over the mission of Toastmasters, to fully embody it. Yes. To provide, the mission of Toastmasters is to provide a mutually supportive, positive learning environment in which every member has the opportunity to develop oral communication and leadership skills, which in turn fosters self-confidence and personal growth.
Yay!
Yeah! And now, to help us with that process, we call up our Toastmaster, Scott Terry.
Yo!
Thank you, Will. I was ready to say amen and felt like I was at a revival here. We are ready to rock and roll tonight. We are starting with a few little changes and we're going to have fun. Let's start simply with our timer, Cindy.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's always important, especially in the business world, to begin your speech and end your speech on time. And we practice that here at Toastmasters so that when we're prepared to do something like that, we are right on the ball. Our prepared table topics, rather, start first, and they are normally 1 to 2 minutes. Green light is turned on at 1 minute. Yellow light, 1 minute and 30 seconds. And the red light is turned on at 2 minutes and remains on until the end of the speech. Prepared speeches are usually 5 to 7, but we have different ones tonight. Our first speaker is Carol Negro, and she is speaking from 6 to 8. So her light will be green at 6. The amber light is 7, and the red light comes on at 8 minutes and stays on until she completes her speech. Mahesh Subramaniam is speaking 5 to 7, so he will be 5, 6, and 7. And Jyoti Raj Adhikari is speaking for 6, 7, and 8. So that's our main speakers this evening. Evaluations are 3 minutes. Green light's turned on at 2 minutes. Yellow light, the amber light is 2 minutes, 30 seconds. And the red light is 3 minutes and remains on until the end of the speech. And at the end, during the evaluation portion, I will give the minutes that everyone spoke. I'll give a report later. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Cindy. Let's go on to our other roles tonight. John Morris, tell us about aha counting and what the reality of that possibly means.
The aha-counter's role is to listen to every speech and note down the person's name and how many times they say filler words such as like, you know, so, but, and pauses, Xerox, which is a double word, false start, or tongue clicks. And I'll be reporting at the end of the meeting on who did what, when, and where. Thanks.
Thank you, John. Dean is a grammarian tonight, and let's hear what the word of the day is.
Yo!
Fellow Toastmasters, I was given basically invisible chalk.
Ooh, I like that.
So we're going to need to fill in a little bit, but tonight's word is pulchritude.
Whoa.
As a grammarian, my job is to pick the word of the day and then have you all use it as much as you can. Actually, it's a good word. It's a noun, and I also have adjectives, so the accent on the noun is pulchritude, and it means physical beauty.
Wow.
Means what? Physical beauty.
Physical.
Physical beauty. The adjective form is pulchritudinous. And I just came from a celebration weight loss challenge where everyone was pulchritudinous, and I introduced the word to them, and they loved it. The sentence that I'm using it in is, her startling pulchritude was renowned. I will also be taking note of creative usages of the English language, and then also usages of the English language that maybe could use a little improvement, and I'll give a report at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean.
Yo!
Let me ask you one quick question, Jean.
Yes.
Pulchritude doesn't revises around physical beauty. Could that mean the space as well as a person?
I don't know, it didn't say that in the dictionary, so maybe like a landscape?
I'm saying our lovely space that we happen to encompass, that we're grateful for being here.
I don't know.
Pulchritude.
It's physical beauty, run with it.
I'm running. Thank you, Jean.
Okay, and I'll just say, someone just asked, how do you spell it? I really like this word. It's Pulchritude, or INOUS for the adjective. Thank you.
Pulchritude. Cool. Thank you. Dig it. All right. General evaluator is no stranger to this crowd. Will Burns. Will, we'll get back to you in a little bit. And a greeter joke master tonight will be Art Atkinson. Thank you, Art, for filling in with a wonderful joke. I'm laughing already. Our ballot counter leader is Dan Craig, who will double duty tonight as well. Dan, anything you feel like saying tonight? Dan, are you in the room?
He's out in the hall, actually.
Because he is enjoying the pulchritude of this environment, and he's so encompassed, involved in that world that he cannot leave. That physical beauty, that pulchritude that is Dan Craig right there, who's going to tell us about ballot counting.
Leader count.
Leader count.
My job as a leader counter is to remind you, if you've got a role and it's something you need to be evaluated for in your leadership manual, you need to hook up with someone to give you a written evaluation. Is anybody in that shape?
Yeah, it's me. I go,
May. Satish. Can somebody evaluate Satish?
I can.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, as VP of Ed, I'd like to mention there are a number of speaking slots available in January.
Oh, really? I want one of those.
Okay. Thank you.
I will speak again to you all. Tonight we are fortunate, very fortunate, to have the wonderful Satish, who will be double dutying tonight in Table Topics Master and Evaluator. Thank you, Master Satish.
Thank you. Good evening, Toastmaster, fellow members, guests, and viewers at home. So as a table topic master today, I will be giving topics, and whoever is interested to give a talk impromptu can come up. You might have listened to Cindy's timing. You have to speak at least 1 minute to qualify, and guests are welcome. And now, since I just got this duty 2 minutes ago, what I'm going to do is read the theme of the day. I once wanted to become an atheist, but I gave up. They have no holidays, that's the reason. So I have broken up this sentence into 4 parts in a whatever order, so you can, whoever's interested can come up, pick a number 1 to 4, and you get the topic. And you get 30 seconds for the guess, you have 30 seconds to think about it, and then you can start. The moment you open your mouth, the first word you utter or any gestures, the time starts. Now, those who don't have roles can get the first option. Anyone? Welcome.
Monty.
1 to 4.
1, 2, 4, 3.
Okay. But I gave up.
Fellow Toastmasters, guests, and our viewers at home. And I wanted to give up. That's probably a situation that we've all faced in our life. There's always been those challenges that come where it seems like the odds are stacked against you, where you don't know who your friends are. It seems like that you're standing out there alone. But those are also the situations that define you. Now, given this is a pretty impromptu topic, I can probably most relate this to my prior military. When you go through training in the military, they try to make it difficult. A lot of it's psychological. People end up joining and they think, you know, it's going to be physically hard. But it's actually, it's more about learning how to endure being uncomfortable and dealing with those situations. It's not anything truly difficult that is outside the realm of possibility. It is just understanding that there are situations that will make you uncomfortable, physically and mentally, and that you are actually very adept at overcoming those situations. It's just a matter of applying yourself mentally, being of sound mind, and of course having a good body doesn't hurt either. So I would say, if you ever want to give up, take it just a little bit further, and you'll find that you actually don't have to. Thank you.
Okay, who would like to come next? Welcome, Art. Exam 3 and 4.
4.
No holidays. I have no holidays, you have no holidays, we have no holidays. What about
Thank you, Satish. Good evening, Toastmasters, guests and viewers at home. This was actually set up. I realized how he structured this, and I decided, oh, I've got something. I'm 67 years old, and the word pulchritude has always been associated with physical human beauty, and particular female beauty, in the whole of my 67 years. And I have not lost interest in it yet. Those women who are blessed with pulchritude have no holidays whatsoever. There is never a time when somebody isn't interested in getting a look. Am I right? Those who aren't blessed with that actually probably on the whole have relief and a little, they get holidays. They get times to be down when they don't have to look gorgeous. But women who have the look always have to be aware of the fact that somebody is watching, somebody is interested, and it may not be welcome. It may not be welcome interest. And then there are those like Madonna and Lady Gaga and who are some of the others that just absolutely revel in it, and whose physical endowments are such that they can just flaunt it, and they can just defy convention, and they can just have a lot of fun with it. They don't get any holidays either. They've got to constantly be on in that way until they decide to give it up and make believe that they're going to go be a benefactor to humanity or do something else besides being. I think that's Madonna's latest deal. So pulchritude doesn't refer to physical environment or anything else. In my experience, it refers to female beauty. And that's all it refers to in physical beauty. That's my opinion.
I know all of you are ready, rolling up your cups. So who wants to come next? Oh, I was wrong.
Guests are welcome.
Guests are welcome. Okay, now I get the opportunity to pick someone. Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay, Stephanie, would you like to come?
Yo!
This is real pulchritude.
Yes.
One or two?
One.
Atheist. Good luck.
Hello Toastmasters, honoured guests and viewers at home. I think the full beginning of this sentence was, I once wanted to be an atheist. To be honest, that sort of fits me when I was younger. I did want to be an atheist. See, my mother and father, they were on two camps. My mother firmly believed in God and still does. And my father didn't believe in God. Now, he didn't go so far as to say he was an atheist. He said he was agnostic. He didn't know. He didn't really know. So I had this choice of which camp I was going to be in. And to be honest, I was definitely in my father's camp. I think part of this was also that at school we had these scripture classes for 1 hour a week or something. And the minister from the church my parents belonged to came along. And he ended up just telling stories about Scotland and things like that. He was from Scotland. I learned nothing about the Bible. I still know nothing about the Bible. And I just thought it was a total waste of time, especially since I didn't really believe in God anyway. So I eventually decided I wasn't going to go to scripture classes anymore. But that meant you had to get a letter of permission from your parents. So I went to my mother, who wrote the notes, and I asked her for permission. Now, of course, my mother was not happy about this because she believed in God and thought I should go to scripture classes. So she was so upset when she was writing the letter that she wrote, "Yours sincerely, Mrs. Sincerely." And then she had to write the whole letter again. And then I was able to skip these classes. I had a wonderful time. We used to just hang out with a couple of people and teachers and sing and have fun. So it was great.
Now, did Madam Timer, did our three speakers qualify?
Do you have time for one more, or are we?
No, you're out of time.
Yes, all three speakers qualified.
And they are?
And you can vote for Monty, Art, and Stephanie.
Thank you, Cindy. Welcome back. Now I would like to do the evaluation of the table topic section. So I had a script ready in which I was going to greet the table topics master. Did a good job. So I can do that to myself. Okay, anyway, I'll skip that part. So now I get 3 minutes to evaluate 3 of you. The 3 brave ones, Monty, Art, and Stephanie. I noticed that Monty greeted the audience, followed the protocol, great. I'm not sure if Stephanie and Art really greeted the Art. If not, you want to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
And then handling the topic. So all 3 I thought were right on the topic. You started with the topic and then came back to the topic and ended. And I specifically noted that Art's speech was totally driven by the word of the day, which was good, and I like the humor you wrapped in it. And of course, now going back to Monty, I thought I'll do a comparative evaluation, pick a point and go to all three. So that's what I'm trying out today. And Monty's speech, I like the way you came up in front, which I would like to see more in art. And of course, Stephanie's choreography just I thought came out instantly. The story here and the story there and the connection and wrapping up with the title we started. So that choreography really looked sort of complete, wrapped with this title. That part I really liked. So as a recommendation, as I mentioned, art, you could come out in front. And I saw you thinking, you looked into the ground. I mean, you looked on the floor and then again started, which is nice, but I don't know, I just thought you could connect in a different way instead of looking down now and then. That was it's just my opinion. And Stephanie, I wish I could learn the way you handle table topics. So we had a wonderful table topic session, I guess, and thank you all the brave ones. Now I hand it over to our Toastmaster.
Thank you, Satish, for doing a wonderful double duty. We're going to take a moment and set up for... All right, we're back. Carol's going to talk in a second, but Stephanie, our... I can't even say the name. Come on up. I forgot the name already. What's the word that I forgot?
Opportunist.
Okay, that's all right.
Hippopotamus.
So
Hippopotamus. No. You sure it's not hippopotamus?
Take it away, Stephanie.
Now I have the pleasure of introducing Carol Negro to speak today. She's giving her icebreaker, which is the first speech in the manual. And the objective of the icebreaker is to begin speaking before an audience, to discover speaking skills you already have and skills that need some attention. So Carol was born and raised in San Francisco. She is now and has been a musician all her life. Before coming to Fairfield in 2009, she was the founder and artistic director of the West Marin Music Festival. Since coming to Fairfield, she has been active with Way Off Broadway, the Southeast Orchestra and Band, and the Oskaloosa Symphony. She has organized and conducted an all-Bach concert and an all-Stravinsky concert. She also composed the original score to the 2012 production of King Lear. She currently plays for worship at New Life Methodist Church and hosts the classical show Friday mornings on KRU. She hopes to start a music festival in Fairfield. And Carol's talk tonight is titled Christmas Eve Magic.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow guests and members, and esteemed viewers at home. First, I would like to say that I am stunned by the visions of pulchritude in this work. The story takes place Christmas Eve 1964. I was 12. It was late in the evening. My mom, 5 brothers and sisters, and I had returned home from Christmas Eve service. I helped get my younger siblings off to bed and was now putting presents under the Christmas tree with my mother. The privilege was mine because I was the oldest child. My mom asked me to assist her because my father couldn't. He died suddenly of a heart attack at the age of 37 exactly 1 month ago. I was happy to help my mother, but sad because my father wasn't there. My mom sensed my sadness in an effort to lift my spirits, gave me an early present. A used phonograph from a family friend's secondhand store and a recording of bassoon music. On one of the works on the disc was the Mozart Bassoon Concerto. I was thrilled. I loved Mozart's music and adored the bassoon since first noticing it on a televised production of a young person's concert led by Leonard Bernstein. I was 6 years old. I wanted to play the bassoon, but my hands weren't big enough. So I stuck it out with the clarinet. Before this Christmas, being now 12 and much larger, I went to my school music instructor just before winter break, and I checked out a bassoon. I decided I was going to start teaching myself to play the day after Christmas. But for now, I was going to listen to my recording. Like a child, I ripped the cellophane off the sleeve of the jacket, slipped the record out, let the Christmas light shine on its slick black surface. I exhaled a quick hearty puff to remove the cardboard dust from the disc and put it on the turntable. I set the speed to 33, turned it on, and let the revolutions begin. The arm glided over, set itself down, and Mozart came to life. I instantly transcended into a state of bliss. I felt an overwhelming sense of joy and peace. I knew in my heart music would be my life. I would like to share a few moments of Mozart's music I heard on Christmas Eve. I would have shared a picture of him had I known the word that was coming up, because although his music definitely portrays his spiritual beauty, he was also a man of much pulchritude. In closing, I would like to say over the years that I have discovered listening to music is like a wedding ceremony where everyone gets married to everyone else. Everyone shares the same desire to turn into the music, to live as the entwined vibrations course the space of the room. When the ceremony is at its peak and the magic has broken loose, every note and beat says, this is who we are in every note. They get thirsty.
thank you so much for sharing your beauty with us tonight. Let's take 2 minutes and write an evaluation and ideas. And we are back, and we are so fortunate tonight to have another icebreaker. What a great night this is. So I'd like to bring up Rick Starr to talk about Mahesh.
Yo.
Come on up. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, and viewers at home, it's my pleasure to introduce Mahesh Subramaniam for his initial icebreaker speech. The objectives of the icebreaker are to begin speaking before an audience, to discover speaking skills you already have, and skills that need some attention. The usual time for an icebreaker is 4 to 6 minutes. Mahesh has requested 5 to 7 minutes. It's a pleasure for me to introduce Mahesh because I've known Mahesh for a long, long time. We've both lived in Fairfield for a long time. We both worked at the same company many, many years ago. Mahesh has always been a very unconventional person. Appropriately, the title of his talk is The Un-Icebreaker. Mahesh.
Yo.
Toastmasters, guests, and viewers at home. This is my un-icebreaker talk. Who wants to get up here and give an icebreaker and be rigid and have to break their rigidity up in front of the audience? I'd rather give a window opener or a shade raiser to let you see into me and see who I am. So I thought about how I would give you a view into myself. And I thought, should I tell you about my childhood and all the time that I spent in the woods and growing up outside, riding my bicycle? Or did I want to tell you about my junior high era and all the fighting that I did? Or did I want to tell you about my high school days and all the drugs that I used? Or did I,
Yes.
or do I want to tell you
Sorry.
or did I want to tell you about how I died in a motorcycle accident and how that changed my life? Or all the myriad of other events that have occurred in my life? And I thought, no, that's not really going to give you a window into me. So then I thought, well, do I want to tell you about all my hobbies? About my gourmet cooking, or my shooting, or some of the other things that I do for my occupation, like sales, and other things I've done, like being a massage therapist, or even building automobiles on an assembly line. And I go, no, that's really not what I wanted to talk about or give you a view into me. What I really wanted to do was share with you what I'd like you to view me as when you saw me on the street, walking down the street in Fairfield. And that's as a writer, a poet, and inspirational speaker. So I believe that poetry is the most effective way to communicate and give people a view into myself. And in that way, tonight, I'm going to give you a view into myself by reading you a few of my poems. And the first poem I'd like to read is a poem that relates to my first exposure here at Toastmasters, which was, the topic was about masks. And so I'm going to read you this poem entitled, God's Mask. What mask do you wear? Is it the mask of illusion, binding you to bear the weight of darkness, forcing you to live in shadows, confining you to live with sin, imposing suffering upon the world? Is it the mask of truth, freeing your spirit and allowing you to soar, extending the light wherever you glance, dispelling shadows and healing hearts, compassionately sharing the certainty of being? If you want to see the world through God's eyes, show the world God's faith. You have a choice. You have a choice. You have a choice. And the second poem that I want to share will give you a little bit more of a view into who I am. It'll really open up that window, lift that shade, really let you see what I'm about. It's called The Garment of Sincerity. We all wear our garments well, even the emperor who wore no clothes. Consider the garment you wear, its brightness, its style, its true colors. I've tried on a few garments in my day, wearing them like Jacob, ending up in who knows what kind of mess. One day, I looked for the garment of sincerity. Putting it on, looking into the mirror, it felt good to wear, its beauty apparent. But my old belt did not match. It's not of selfishness, not appropriate anymore. Reflecting back ancient wounds, a love abandoned, a broken heart, a loss too deep to feel. New garments require new accessories. We can't hold on to our old stuff. Just doesn't match. Don't worry. God will adorn you with shining accessories. After all, He made you. And the last poem that I'd like to share is a poem that I wrote just last week. God's Radio. My heart plays many tunes. Can't say how many. Can't remember them all. Unconsciously they came. Tunes of laughter, tunes of joy, tunes of anger and tunes of fear, tunes of honor and tunes of truth, and crazy tunes of love. All kinds of tunes played for all kinds of people in mostly unconscious ways. Hadn't paid attention to my own song. Never realized I was always playing a tune. Never realized I had a choice. Never realized I could be God's radio. Thank you.
Thank you, Mahesh. That was lovely. Let's take 2 minutes and evaluate. All right. Here we go again. Round number 3. I'm going to call Dan up to talk about Jyoti.
Go!
Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, viewers at home. Jyoti is going through the CC manual for a second time. And tonight he's doing CC number 2, Organize Your Speech. The objectives of this project are: select an appropriate outline which allows listeners to easily follow and understand your speech. Make your message clear with supporting material directly contributing to that message. Use appropriate transitions when moving from one idea to another. create a strong opening and conclusion. We've known Jyoti for a while. Just to remind you, he came to Fairfield as a student of MUM. Currently, he works as a professional accountant in town. His specialty is taxation and auditing. To me, that sounds pretty exciting. His talk is titled Journey to Happiness. Jyoti Raj Adhikari.
So fellow Toastmasters, guests, our viewers at home. We all want to be happy, very happy. The main purpose of our life is to be happy. You, everybody wants to be happy. We have the big shopping on Black Friday to get more happiness. The more big TV you get more happiness. 25-inch TV, little happiness. 55 more, 90, the biggest happiness. So what is happiness? Is happiness an object? Is it an event? Is that TV is happiness? Or the buying the TV is happiness? Black Friday is happiness? What is happiness? What is it? It is a desire, or it is a wants to fulfill a desire. Let's give you an example. You have an exam. You write the exam, take the test. You don't know you'll pass or fail. You are praying God for the results, and suddenly you pass. How you feel? You are the happiest person in this universe. You dance. You talk a lot about the exam. I passed the exam. I wrote the exam this way. I thought I failed. All these things. This goes on till you get your results, your score, and you see you missed the grade by 1 point. You was C instead of B. If you had one more point, one more mark, you'd be B. There your sadness starts. You forget. You pass the exam. That 1.1 marks makes you very uncomfortable for your whole life. You'll be thinking about that. Let's give me some idea about the happiness. The happiness is not in the object. It's not in the event. But happiness is the state of mind. The happiness is already there, even it is not state of mind. It's in mind, it's in thought, it's already there. We are not able to see it. Why? Because the negativity has covered it. And it's buried inside your negativity, our negativity. Our thought is so much trained to see negativity. We can't sleep even without seeing negativity. We want to see the news about bombings, killings, sufferings. Then we can just sleep. If we see something happening, some bridges are built, some people are educated, we don't think that's the news. Should change the channel. Just go to Fox News, CNN, see what's happening there in Parliament, what's happening there in the Capitol. They're fighting, we are very happy, yes. The reporters, see the reporters, how they are happy. They're fighting us, killing some. I mean, negativity. So if we can just get out from the negativity, the happiness is there inside. Apart from that, I would like to give you some tips to be happy. The first is live in now. Just forget what is happening in future. What is going to happen there, here, and you can see only to the point you can see. Beyond that point is darkness to you, for you. It's dark, and from dark you can't get anything. You can get only the negativity. Just live in past, then you are the happiest person in this universe. Do not regret for the past. Second one. Let it be. What happened, happened. Bury the past. Don't take it out again. You can't change the past. You can never change the past. But you can change your attitude to look, the result came from the past. That you can do. Think positive. That will take you to a happiness. The very most important thing everybody should do is ask your thoughts. If your thoughts start thinking negative, your brain, just ask your brain, why are you thinking negative? Why can't you think positive? 99% of the things are positive in your life. That's why you are here after 40, 50, 70 years. Only 1 or 2% something negative happened. And we think that 2%, living 98%. If everything was negative, we wouldn't be here. I'm almost 40, 70, 60. We're leaving. That's positive. That's the thing. Ask your thought. Never let your thought go to negative side. When it wants to go negative, ask your thought. Why you are thinking negative, come to the positive, order it. Stop it there. That's the main thing. Find your purpose in your life. It's not finding the big thing. Just see where you can go after 5 years, 4 years, 3 years. Every step, when you achieve every step towards your goal, that gives you happiness. Increase your happiness every day towards your goal. Give out, contribute. That is your 5th point. Give. When you give, you don't have anything to receive back for your contribution. When you do not do the trade, contribution is not trade. When you do not do the trade, you will never lose. When you don't lose, what happens? You gain. Not losing is gaining. So contribution is always gaining. The 6th is show your gratitude. Thank everybody. I am standing here because of you guys. If these are the empty chairs, then I will not be here. I am always thankful to you. And you all are thankful to me. Because I am speaking here, that's why you are listening here. It's only our attitude, our perception, that changes. The sun is hot in summer, and we run from it. And in winter, we want it. The sun is always there, only our perception, our want changes. That's all. 7, learn to enjoy in the joy of others. When somebody is happy, be happy. He will come to your happy moment when you are happy, so you can share it. Find some time for yourself. Do yoga, do meditation. Look inside you. Happiness is already there. Look inside you. Find happiness. See it. The last is do not imitate. This is Jyotiraj Adhikari. I myself, thanks to John Loris, one day he told me that the only problem with you is you are not born here. That day I realized I am Jyotiraj Adhikari, and I am myself. I can't beat John Loris. Thank you, John. I really appreciate that. It was my inspiration, really. So be yourself. When you be yourself, you are very comfortable. You can see me, how comfortable I am now. The day John told me the same thing. So this is how we can do. I cannot do what you do. You cannot do what I do. But we can do the same thing with our own way. In your own way, you can achieve the same thing. In your own way, you can achieve the same thing, but I can't do what you do. So if you follow all these 9 steps, what I told you, you reach to the land of happiness very soon. Thank you.
So I think Jody is ready to quit accounting and find happiness as a counselor in my practice. Thank you, Jody. Thank you so much. Let's take 2 minutes to evaluate Jody's talk. Excellent. We are now about to vote for the best speaker. So before these 3 incredible, wonderful speeches are judged in terms of who's the best, even though they're all fantastic, let us turn to Madam Table Timer Tamer.
Table tamer.
Tamer.
Timer
Yes.
kidder.
Tamer. Did they all qualify? And who were they?
They all qualify.
Yes!
Yay!
And who they are is Carol, Mahesh, and Jody.
We're ready to roll again. The general evaluator, Will Burns, no stranger to the stage, will come on up and go into the evaluation section.
Yo!
I will start with Stephanie Chambers. Come on up.
Yo!
Fellow Toastmasters, guests and viewers at home. Wasn't it a pleasure hearing Carol's first talk tonight?
Yeah!
Carol gave us an insight into what really drives her through life. It's obviously music and her love of music. And by just focusing on that one little incident, I thought it was a great start, talking about the Christmas Eve. I mean, you not only made us aware of the fact that you love music, but that just what a giant part of your life it was and how it even helped you to cope with your father's passing, which obviously was probably very traumatic, I'd imagine, at that age. But it was wonderful. I really enjoyed the way you gave us some wonderful descriptions. You used almost all the senses when you described putting on that record. I felt like I was there. I could hear it and feel it and almost smell it or whatever. It was wonderful. I also liked the way at the very beginning of your speech you used humour in the word of the day, which I think is a real skill to be able to ad-lib in the middle of a prepared speech or at the beginning. That's excellent. The other thing I liked in terms of the content was the metaphors, the way you described hearing music as being like a marriage ceremony. I thought was something I'd never thought of, and I can see that you must be a great writer as well as a musician. So I'm looking forward to hearing more speeches with those sort of analogies. In terms of the structure, you chose the structure of telling us a story, which I think is always a great way to structure a speech. And if, you know, I'm sure as you go through the manual you might try some other structures as well, but that was a great start. That's one of the most important structures. In terms of suggestions for the future, I mean, there are lots of things that you'll see as we go through the book, but I think the main thing I'd encourage you to do is to just relax a little bit more. Breathe, pause a little, you've got plenty of time. I think you may have felt a little rushed tonight because you had to fit the music in as well in your speech, but I think in future just relax, we're all friends, and we all enjoyed your speech so much that we really want to hear more. So that's my only encouragement for you. Tonight I thought it was an excellent speech, and I learned two things. I came to realize what a beautiful instrument the bassoon is. I hadn't really ever really focused on just listening to a bassoon before. It was really beautiful, and I loved the way you played. And also the other thing I thought was interesting was just how clear you were as to what your purpose, or some people call it dharma, was. Even at the age of 6 you knew you wanted to be a musician. So I thought that was a really wonderful insight, and I really enjoyed hearing your speech. So thank you, Carol.
Rare step there.
Rare.
Okay. While I compose myself, let me call up our second evaluator, Rick, to evaluate my head.
Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, viewers at home, especially Mahesh. In Toastmasters, everyone has a role. The role of the audience is to listen attentively and quietly to the speaker without distractions. I want to apologize to Mahesh and to the club for the comment I made. It was inappropriate, and you got to laugh, but it was inappropriate. Just like that comment. So a ringer is someone who comes to an activity pretending lack of experience, but is actually very experienced in the activity. Here is the definition of a ringer. Mahesh is clearly an excellent speaker, an excellent writer, and a beautiful poet. Mahesh started his speech coming out in front of the podium and immediately started using gestures. He gestured icebreaker, talked about opening a window to get to know him, or lifting a shade. Very good gestures and tied directly into his speech. Another very interesting technique is Mahesh started out with all the things he's not going to talk about, which gave us a chance to know him. He listed half a dozen things or more, and that about himself. A very well-written speech, beautiful poems. I enjoyed the speech very much. I'd like to go through the points in the evaluation section of the book. What strong points does the speaker already have? Clearly an experienced speaker, experienced writer, a poet. Calm under pressure. When I made the comment and it got a big laugh, you stumbled for a second, but you recovered very quickly. How well did the audience get to know the speaker? Very interesting techniques. Saying the things you're not going to say, but also the technique of knowing the artist through his art. Mahesh read 3 beautiful, beautiful poems, and we got to know him through the poems and through the words of the poems, and also through the silence of the poems. Did the speech reflect adequate preparation? Clearly, yes. Very well prepared speech, very well rehearsed. Did the speaker talk clearly and audibly? Mahesh has a very soft, pleasant, easy to listen to voice. It's in its own way, it's a commanding voice, even though it isn't loud, but you're drawn into it, and it's very, very nice. Did the speech have a definite opening, body, and conclusion? Well, it had a good opening, all the things you weren't going to talk about, a good body, your beautiful poems, and then you stopped after the poems. And as an evaluator, I should take marks off that and say, you know, you should have a opening, a body, and a conclusion. But the poems were so beautiful, and there was such a sense of silence here. I think it was a good technique. I think that part was very good. Speaker's use of notes. You didn't use notes except when reading your poem, which is very good for an icebreaker, but expected from an experienced speaker. I noticed there was one stumble where you were trying to remember something. And I went over the things that I liked about the presentation, which was everything. And if there was something you could have done differently, that would have been to have a beginning, middle, and an end. I don't know that it would have improved the speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. And now let me call up Dan. There you are.
Yo!
Evaluate, just you are.
Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, and particularly Jyoti. He did CC number 2 for the second time, and I have no doubt that this was much better than the first, though I didn't hear the first time, because it was excellent. Very well done. I'm going to go through the manual for the points that it asks you to cover. It asks, what was the speech value? I rated at highest marks. Very interesting to everyone. Preparation, also the same. Very well thought out. Good points. Organization, logical, clear, yes, a 4. Quite good. Opening, was it attention getting? Did it lead to the topic? Yes, I thought the opening was the best part of your talk, actually. You gave us a lot of energy, you had some really great gestures, you started out saying you and you and you, and we're all sitting there like this, and then you talked about the happiness in terms of the size of the TV screens. So you had us very thoroughly at that point. That was very well done. The body of the talk, nicely done. The one suggestion I had, you did have 9 points that you went through. And I was trying to follow and jot them down, but I lost a few. So it couldn't be that I was unclear, so it must be that you need to help us out a little. And perhaps even when we were talking before your speech, you were saying, I want to watch the transitions between point 1, 2, 3. I think you could have done point 1, 2, 3, and really kept us very clear about what you were saying when. The conclusion, I rated only 2 on a scale of 5. I didn't think there really was much of a conclusion. You gave us those 9 points. You said, and if you'll do these things, you'll be happy. Thank you. If you can somehow wrap it up and recap what you've done, then you've given us a conclusion and you've reinforced the points that we've gotten. Transitions, I gave it a 4 out of 5. I thought it's flowed very smoothly. It was very nicely written. What could you have done to be more effective? The couple of things I noticed were a tendency to talk a little fast sometimes. There were a couple of words that stood out when you were saying negativity. Somehow it didn't quite sound like that word. And I also noticed a little bit of a tendency to pace. A little bit of this, you were doing some of that. Of course, it's better to plant and then move more with a purpose. But at the same time, when you were delivering your talk, you had excellent eye contact. You spoke to all parts of the room. Everyone was engaged. So I thought you did that very, very well. I believe that's it. Thank you.
Yo! Thank you, Dan. And with our final evaluator finished, except for me, which will come later, let's check in here with our timer and see if all of our 4 qualified.
All 4 qualified.
And their names, please.
Satish for table topics evaluator, and then Stephanie, Rick, and Dan for speeches.
Okay, reports. We start with our timer.
Mr. General Evaluator, timer's report is as follows. Our table topic speakers, Monty, spoke for 1 minute 48. Art spoke for 2 minutes 18. And Stephanie for 2 minutes and 8 seconds. Our speeches, Carol spoke for 6 minutes. Mahesh, 7 minutes 8 seconds. And Jyoti Raj, 8 minutes and 21 seconds. For evaluators, Satish spoke for 2 minutes and 6 seconds. Stephanie for 3 minutes, 18 seconds. Rick for 3 minutes, 29 seconds. And Dan Craig, 3 minutes and 21 seconds. That's my report.
Thank you, Cindy. And now, correcting our missteps, John Loros.
The yaw counter report. Either my laser intellect usually was off tonight, or we're all getting really good because there weren't many missteps. Monty had 1 so, Art had one Stephanie 3 so's and 2 n's, but that's because she spoke for 2 different topics. Satish clear, Rick clear, Dan had 1 Xerox, and Jyoti was clear. Thank you.
Next up, let me call up Jean Simonton Craig as Grammarian. Go.
All right. Start with the word of the day. He had a really good start. Scott had, I'm going to give him 2. I tend to have a quantity, quality screen meter, so if you have a lot of quantity but the quality hasn't quite hit it, then I don't give it her. But then I also have it the other way. If it's a really outstanding quality usage, which was Carol, I tend to want to give a little extra. It's just the way the numbers work for me. Scott, so I gave Scott 2, I gave Art 2. Of course, Art did a whole table topics around it. Should probably give him another half.
Yeah.
Satish got it in there, 1. And Carol, really, I feel was the winner for the evening because of how artistically she wove in the word of the day. So I'm giving her 3 and calling her the winner.
Yay!
All right, then in terms of usage, a couple of things. And my ear tends to hear the things that are a little off, just the way it works. But I'll start with the positives, or should I start with the negatives? Anyway, I'll start with the room for improvement. Monty said actually adapt at and overcoming, something like that, and I think the word would be adept, actually adept. It's okay. Satish pronunciation was saying choreography, something with the accent on its choreography.
Okay.
So again, that's a pronunciation. Jyoti, praying God. It's praying to God. And then some positive things. I love Carol pulling out the album and blowing on the shiny black surface. I mean, how many people remember taking your album out of that cool cover and ripping off and like that whole experience? And then Mahesh, as opposed to an icebreaker being a shade razor or a window opener. I really like the way that worked. And that's my report.
Yo! Making me realize how much I missed from the vinyl era. Let me call up Art now, our joke master.
Joke to the man.
Well, Toastmasters, religious jokes are usually a dangerous area to venture into because somebody gets offended. But a Baptist friend of mine sent me a collection of fabulous stuff. A lot of it written obviously by Baptists poking fun at themselves. One of them being that you can tell the difference between a Baptist and a Methodist because the Baptist is very sure that fellowship has something to do with food. So here's the joke. The 4th grade teacher has a show and tell day, and her assignment to her class is come to show and tell to tell us something about your church. So on the appointed day, little Adam stands up and he says, "My name is Adam, I'm Jewish, and this is a matzo ball." And little James stands up and says, "My name is James, I'm Catholic, and this is a crucifix." Little Billy Bob stands up and he said, "My name is Billy Bob, and I'm Baptist, and this is a casserole."
You are playing a dangerous game, walking away. All right, it's now my turn. I'm going to speak, I can get carried away with the evaluators. I'm going to try to speak in a more general sense. First off, I want to talk about these interesting pairings that happened to work out tonight. We had Stephanie and Carol, both very natural storytellers, and that really came across. We have Mahesh, who was allegedly a ringer, but so was Rick. Because I feel like, Rick, you haven't been here that long in my time here, but you've really come a long way and you've really matured. And finally, we had the
Thank you.
Blossom.
I like that.
And we had the experienced hands of Dan and Jyoti. Next up, I want to call back to Satish with the use of the cross-section, taking each of the table topic speakers and kind of going with how they each did the motion on the stage. I want to thank you for that, because I realize that when I do it, or I will do that in the future, I need to be careful that when I do it, I acknowledge the paragon of that standard, whoever they may be, and make it structure in a way that it doesn't single out the others. You did a really good job of kind of hitting up on that, but there were some times when you're doing the evaluation, I noticed, I was like, wait, is he going to say something to kind of come back on this? But you did a great job of bringing it back. So. And finally, I want to just acknowledge that you have two options here as a evaluator. You can speak from the manual, point by point, or you can kind of go off the cuff. And we had kind of a mix there between Stephanie, who spoke, and we have Rick and Dan, who are more point by point. So there are two options you have when you step into the role of evaluator as well. Thank you. And now let me call up Scott.
Yo! All right. And we are about to do the meeting awards. Yes?
Yes.
Yes, we are. So let us start by calling up the best table topic. And it is Art. Come on up. And it is Monty. Come on up. And it is Stephanie. It is a three-way historic tie for the evening of best table topics.
So we can.
I'm going to throw this in the air, and then you got...
Look at
No. Somebody...
What we do is...
Yes, come, everybody come here. And think of it as a wishbone.
Yeah.
Hey!
All right. And we are now on to stage 2. The best speaker of the night is Jyoti.
Yeah.
Wonderful. There you go. Well deserved.
He gets a number 2 ribbon.
Oh yes. Well, I was gonna call everyone up for, but all right. Let's go into the second, and best evaluator is Rick. Come on down. Let us bring people back for Carol. Please come on up. Wonderful speech. To tell us about food and other tasty events in our lives to come.
Yo! Thank you, Scott. You are correct. We have a fellowship.
Yes, I heard.
It's in the other room here. But first, we have many reasons to be thankful. The latest of which is that we have completed our DCP goals.
The latest bunch of heroes.
Latest bunch of heroes. It was a team effort from everybody, but at the end, to bring us across the finish line, I want to acknowledge Jeff, Monty, Dan, and Rhonda, who's not here tonight. Very frigid weather and
It wasn't that bad.
yeah,
One this time.
hostile deer. I don't know.
And the district recognized them at the event and had them stand up in front of the whole crowd to show the district that these guys did 10.
Yeah, and let me add that there's some question about who was kind of first here, but this is first in the district. To complete 10 in and of itself is an accomplishment for any Toastmasters club, but to be the first to do it demonstrates the organization leadership. I want to say commitment. I want to say personal courage. Yeah.
That works.
With that, please help us pick up here.
One more thing.
Please, Cindy.
And food.
And food, yes.
There will be a card right outside the door on the table. Darlene has moved out of town, and I thought it would be kind of nice to send her a bon voyage. It says, I'm not good at goodbyes, so let's pretend we're just playing hide and seek. You're going to be hard to find. We'll miss you. So I thought maybe it would be a nice memento for her to remember the Toastmasters and everybody in it. So this will be outside for your signature and a note if you choose.
Yes.
Darlene, a wonderful departed member of ours.
Who gave us one of our...
Yeah.
Who was recently departed.
She remains on this plane, but she's to this side. Please help us pick up, enjoy the food, sign the card.
No food in here.
No food in here, but it's out there.